دعاء سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Glory to be you who have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Verily it is you, the all-knower and the all-wise. Surah Al-Baqarah. Jazakumullah for tuning in, and my name is Hashim Duale. I will be conducting and have this opportunity to share with you my experience as a father of autistic child. My child is 24 years old. His name is Ismail Duale, and everything I know about autism, he is my teacher. Well, I will start officially from the NHS because always we need to be more in whatever we are talking about, to be in the researched and known places coming from. And during this Ramadan, we will have experts from the NHS, we will have experts from the academia and researchers, we will have GPs, and today I would like to start first and foremost with lived experienced people. In my way of looking at it, the experts can say many things and they are trained well, but the best people to learn when we're talking about autism are the people who have lived experience. I will start the guest in the studio. His name is Dylan Mathieson-Dodd. Dylan, welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself to our guests.
Hi, thank you, Hashim. Yes, so hi, my name's Dylan. I'm an adult with autism, or autistic adult, depending on which phrase people prefer. I'm 25 years old. I live in the city of Leicester, and I am the co-chairman of the Autism Partnership Board for Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland.
And from further afield, in Somalia, we have Samia Ali. She's a mother of autistic child. And please introduce yourself from where you are.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Samia Ali. I am in Somalia, specifically in, shall I say, Somaliland in Hargeisa. I have a child with autism who is 23 years old, and I am the founder of this center, which I am tuning in, which is called Lifeline Hope Center, which we cater and children with additional needs, example like with autism and ADHD and Down syndrome. So I'm saying salam alaikum from Somalia.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. As a first day of Ramadan, I will be asking everyone, I'm missing my coffee. What everyone is missing? And that question will be later on for our callers to break the ice. As I said, officially, and you tune in if you are listening us from the radio, 87.70 FM. And if you want to get in touch with us, the numbers of the studio is 0116-28. I repeat that, 0116-482-2086. You can text us 07748-855-055. This program and this show is interactive. It's not only one way. I will be relying all of you listeners there, please. If you have, especially I want to hear from the parents with autistic children. If there are adults there 18 and above the age of 18, they can living with autism can reach. I will start with Dylan here. Dylan, tell me more about you. For example, at the age of you've been diagnosed, how you lived. Start that from early age, please.
Okay, well, so I was aware of my diagnosis when I was 11, but apparently I was diagnosed around the age of 10. Now, I grew up actually in foster care originally, so I grew up with my birth parents, then I was placed in foster care, then adopted, then I got put back into care, then I moved with my aunt and uncle at the age of 11. Now, throughout all that time, I did grow up to be a very angry person, and people could understand that I was very angry, and no one quite understood why, myself included. I didn't know if I was struggling with day-to-day life just because, you know, what my home and my family life was in such turmoil. Like, it didn't make sense that what people traditionally see as a family, and that didn't make as much sense to me because I was moving around a lot. Now, when I got made aware of my autism, I mean, I got made clear of some of the traits. So, for example, I apparently couldn't talk until the age of 4. So apparently if I ever wanted something, I'd try and point at it. But of course, if I couldn't point very well, I would then just start screaming because I wasn't getting the thing that I wanted or needed at that point because I couldn't communicate verbally at that point in time. Now, thankfully, I've made up for that ever since. I'm a non-stop talker. One of the other things I'll mention is from the age of 11, when I got made aware of my diagnosis, one of the things that helped is that I could actually start looking at certain of my traits. So a great example would be facial expressions and body language. So I've always had great difficulty with those. It's one of those, but you don't always clock that you're not good at it as well until once it's actually made clear to you, or they'll kind of put you through a test, see if you can guess what those expressions mean. And you suddenly realise, oh, I really don't get what these mean. And it was from then I could then want to build that drive to, okay, what can I do to learn more about them, to better understand people in conversation?
Hold that thought. You're tuned in Radio Ramadan FM 87.70, and you can also get in touch and ask my guests and myself questions. And the number in the studio is 0116 482 2086. You can text us 077 48 855 055. I come to you, Samia. As I asked the same question, what I'm asking now is same question. When your child was diagnosed and the circumstance in that time, if you can share with other parents who have small kids now.
When my son was diagnosed was long time ago. Autism, there wasn't enough information. Not alone, there wasn't even awareness. So my son was diagnosed at the age of 8 years old. When he was 1 year and 6 months, I could see changes in him. An example, he was a little bit verbal, and then he stopped speaking completely. He wasn't interacting as much. But little I know, I never heard autism. I never knew autism existed. All I was thinking was why my child is not speaking. So when I took him to the professionals, all they could say was like, "Oh, he's too young. He will speak. He will talk." And that answer, I couldn't take that answer. Long process, long assessment. He started age of 4 in a center where he supposedly could have help with the early intervention and things like that. The center closed within 1 year, and then we have been advised to take him to special needs school. So he started at the age of 4 special needs school, and he's been in special school all his school life. The thing is that as I struggled as a mother was I didn't know nothing about autism. There was no enough information. There was no social media to go and check. There was nobody I've never seen anybody with autism. And all I was looking and all I was trying to understand is like why my son he cannot communicate, or why my son he cannot speak. And adding to the pressure, I had friends and families who were always blaming me, saying like, "It's your fault. That's why your child's not speaking. It's your fault. If you could spend a little bit more of time with him and talk to him, he will talk, he will speak, he will do this and that and the other." Well, it was totally opposite. So the lack of awareness that existed at that, my son has been diagnosed 2008. So you can only imagine understanding autism and awareness and everything. Even the professional people, they were not help enough. And when my son was diagnosed, I remember the words that they said to me. I went normal assessment as we used to go every 3 months or 4 months whenever we received the appointment. And that day at the doctor's place, I have been told my son, he's disabled and he will suffer. These are the words I will never forget in my life. He will suffer long life disability and there's nothing they can do, and he's got autism. Which later on I've learned he's not suffering, actually he's thriving, and autism is not something that you need to suffer for. So that's my early experience with autism.
Thank you. Hold that thought. Coming back to Dylan, you said that you did not find out immediately your diagnosis. Why you didn't? Who hide it from you? What was the circumstance in that time? And you mentioned that you were in foster care. Can you elaborate more on that time of your life?
Well, so in my early years, like I said, I think the biggest part of one of the reasons it didn't come to light so quickly is partially the fact that people might have assumed that I was really angry because my circumstances were already quite unusual. So the time I was aware of my diagnosis, I was living with my fifth family. And I was moving around quite a lot. So I moved around a lot around Northamptonshire, Leicestershire, and even up in Liverpool. So it was having to go to new schools all the time, like trying to make new friends, which when that's already difficult, so then when you're finally getting around doing it, having to move again and restart all over again, I think a lot of my difficulties were there already, like just kind of hidden more by that than anything else. And again, it's part of the time of what Samia said, like it's autism still wasn't seen in a very positive light back then. Because I was made aware of my diagnosis in 2009, but I haven't formally been diagnosed in 2008. And part of it, though, that helped me move forward was understanding. When I moved in with my aunt and uncle at the end of year 6, I finally had a family who were willing, who I knew could embrace my autism and actually start to help me understand the way I am, and then try and see what I could do to then learn from that, if that makes sense. That was the biggest barrier, I think, for the time being, was that I didn't have a family who I knew had that strive to help understand. Like, I still talk to a lot of my family, my birth family, adopted family, and I have good relationships with them all. I know they do understand me. But until I lived with my aunt and uncle, just that determination had never been as solid as it had been once I moved in with them.
So what hindered most is your constant moved from house to house. If I recall our conversations earlier, on one point, one foster parent returned you back to the system when they find out. Is that correct recollection?
No. So
what is it?
So basically, it was to do. I found out from when I read my adoption record at the age of 18. I found out that when I'd moved up to Liverpool, so according to a conversation that I had with my adopted mum, I had an autism diagnosis around the age of 7 that I wasn't aware of. But then all that paperwork disappeared when I got moved up to Liverpool, and it actually got revealed again when my aunt and uncle were fighting for the right to look after me. So, like I said, half the problem wasn't just the fact that I was moving around, it was the fact that, the family circumstances was changed. Because when I was up in Liverpool, my adopted mum wasn't in the picture anymore either. So I didn't have any... So even when she wasn't involved, like I said, what the family dynamic was kept breaking and folding. And then when I was put into foster care, which was just before my 10th birthday, and like I said, met a load of my family for the first time in years, I had a social worker at the time who was a fantastic lady who actually helped me try and understand my autism, which I didn't know that's what she was doing at the time. I just saw the lady who was fighting my corner, trying to help me find what would be the right family for me.
Thank you very much. As a parent, Samia, circumstances in the society, you explained more about, talk us through the day after you left that clinic and they tell you what they told you and you come back and how the society, those around you, family, friends, the wider society, how you felt on that time, and what was the most difficult bits that you encountered?
Well, it was the loneliest. I have been the loneliest place I could ever be. To start with, I was new to UK. I couldn't speak much of English or understand much of English. I couldn't understand the word autism. I've never heard it. I've never seen anybody with autism. I've never knew. So when they just gave me the diagnosis with no help and no support group to go to, I felt it really lonely. And then I couldn't accept. I literally couldn't accept. I was like, nope, nothing wrong with my son. For me, disability was somebody who physically disabled, not with somebody who was not physically showing any disability. So I refused. I could not accept. So on top of that, whenever I try to explain, people saying like, oh, my son is being diagnosed something called autism, they were more confused than I was. And they was like, there's no such a thing. There's nothing like that. The only thing that's missing is your son to communicate, your son to speak. later on, I found that autism is more than that, and everybody's different. Autism is a spectrum, and it's an umbrella, so everybody stands different place. The things, the pressures that I felt from the family and the society, it was a lot of stigma. That's why I felt it so lonely and isolated, because my son was behaving in a certain way which people couldn't understand. I couldn't understand either. But because I love my son and I know there's nothing wrong with him and I'm trying to understand and to educate myself, the people, they were not willing to do that. So the judgment and the stigma, one of the things society, especially in my community, used to tell me was, oh, he's been possessed by jinn, or he's been, black magic's been done on him. You need to take him there and do those kind of stuff, or read Quran on him, which as a religion, we always recite Quran. We try to recite Quran on my son, but it was nothing to do him being possessed. So that, when people gives you those kind of advice or tell you to advise you, think that they don't even know what they're telling you. And they put you the pressure of that you're doing something wrong as a mother. You try to isolate yourself as much as you can, and you end up being in your house and the place that you feel accepted, and you only end up being going to the places like your child's school because you feel your child's been celebrated there, but there's no much places to go. You try to avoid family conversations because the conversation is always about your son and how much wrong you're doing. So it was a lot of pressure to at the beginning, and I couldn't take the doctor's word, so I had to go and find out privately if that was the case. So the difference between the second opinion, and every parent has got the right to go and find a second opinion when your child's been diagnosed, whatever's been diagnosed. The difference between the second diagnosis and the first diagnosis, the second diagnosis, it gave me hope. They told me what I could do and how my child's life or future could be if I do certain things. Where I went first, as first diagnosed, they told me he will suffer lifelong disability and there's nothing that you can do about, or there's nothing we can do about. The second opinion, they told me my son is, yes, he's got an autism. Not only autism, he is severe autistic. But if he got early intervention, if we help him as a family, if he got the right school, right support, he can live and thrive in his life. So you can see as a parent, when you have professional people dealing with you, the way they deal with you, the way they deliver the information, the way they support you, it can change your life and your child's life.
Thank you. Hold that thought. I'll come back to you on that one. Same conversation, and I'm expecting the callers to call us as well, because this show is not one-way show. You are part of it, and please, by all means, if you are out there, parents with autistic children or adults, you can call us directly from the studio, or 0116-482-2086, or you can text 077 488 55055, and we will read out. And if you want to ask even questions, both of my I call them expert by experience, EBE. That's the word. Am I saying well?
Yes,
Thank you. Because they lived through rather than learning into the. But before I give it to you, because I always like to quote our NHS. When you ask NHS what's autism, they don't tell you exactly what it is, but because you understand why. But they take this way. Autistic people might act in different way to other people. Autistic people might find it hard to communicate and interact with other people, find it hard to understand how other people think or feel, find things like bright lights or loud noises overwhelming, stressful or uncomfortable, get anxious or upset about unfamiliar situation and social events, take longer to understand information or process information, do or think the same things over and over again. But they also underline that there is no two people with autism who are as the same. So it affects in different people in different way. They also stress autism is not an illness. Being autistic does not mean you have an illness or disease. It means your brain works in a different way from other people. It is something you are born with. A sign of autism might be noticed when you are very young, or not until you're older. So there are people who've been diagnosed at the age of 35 and over. I'll come back to these details because I like to be very clear on my communication, and this is the guidelines of the NHS that I'm reading verbatim. Coming back to you, Samia explained to us about the society's perception and how she felt isolated and all that, Dylan. Can you walk me through the good things and no so good things that you find out, all us in society treating you differently? Or
well, the weird part was, like I said, once I moved in with my aunt and uncle, once I was made of my autism, if anything, I was lucky enough to say a lot of the perception changed for the positive, because I think it wasn't just answers for me, it was then answers for other people. It gave them the ability to understand why I might act in certain ways as well. I mean, beforehand, I'd always just been seen as the naughty kid. You know, I was the kid who always lost his temper in school. You know, the school I went to in the past couldn't wait to have me kicked out. They wanted nothing to do with me. But when I got my diagnosis and I was in high school, I ended up getting a lot more support. So I had some support teachers in place. And luckily, during year 8, I actually had a group of my form mates, like you have forms in school, that we'd meet up on a Wednesday, and actually some of them be able to highlight like conversations I've had or things I've done during that week, some which would be really good, which they'd be impressed with how I'd been able to cope in a certain social situation, but also give me some areas where I could still try and improve, where maybe I did make a mistake in saying something to someone that I might not have clocked, could have been something that wasn't nice to say, or maybe not understood their expression during a conversation with them. So one of the things that really helped me actually moving forward wasn't just the understanding I was getting from family and from teachers, but for me to move forward was actually getting my own classmates to understand me. And that made the world of difference.
So better school, better understanding the system, and better mates, as you put it, will help. Because what we're trying to do in this show is to talk to the young parents with the young children, just to help them to understand more about your journey, Sami's journey, so that they can learn, and now that they are in that situation that you've been. Coming back to Samia, you put emphasis on the schools. As a mother, what do you advise other mothers out there who are now trying to find whether it is primary school or secondary school or college in that matter? What advice you will be giving a young mother with young child now?
When it comes to school, everybody's different. I've been asking many questions about this. Mainstream school better than special needs school, or special needs school better than mainstream school? It depends on your child's need. Let me emphasize that again. It depends your child's need. So if your child can cope and you know your child can thrive with support or without support in mainstream setting, by all means, take your child to the mainstream school. But if you know your child will struggle and they will not achieve anything and they need to be in a special setting like special needs school, take them there. That's where they need to be. So as a parent, you need to do your research, you need to know your child, and you need to be honest about your child's need. When I say about honest your child's need, sometimes the pressure from outside and the pressure from the family and people, it can make you change or make you compromise your decisions. I don't know much now, but I remember when Ismail was young, there was so much stigma even sending my child to special needs school. We will say, no, everything is fine. The only thing that my child's missing is a speech. So I'm gonna put mainstream school and he will cope and he will be just fine. Where Ismail, I can only speak for Ismail at this moment. Ismail, he couldn't cope in a mainstream school. His needs were greater, so he needed to be in special school. And the other thing that I want to advise with younger parents is work with the school. Work with the school, and your child is learning and your child is support. It doesn't end the 6 hours they are in the school setting. You, as a parent, we have got the duty to work with the school, find out their targets, find out what we need to support, find out how the school is working in terms of communication, their targets of what life skills, anything, and replicate and do the same at home. The other thing that I would like to advise a young parent is have a routine and schedule in your child's life. That will help tremendously.
Hold that thought. Same question. You've been through the schools, and you know what worked for you, and who might work for others. Dylan, same as someone who went through the schooling system in this country. What advice you might be giving a parent in a situation of choosing the schools, whether it is primary or secondary or college, in that matter?
It's like what Samia said, it's all about communication. So, like I said, for me, when I had my meltdowns, I was taken out of school for a while, and that was in mainstream. But my aunt was adamant that she thought I needed to stay in mainstream. So there was like a decision reached with the school, and more support was put in place to allow it to be given a go. And I used to have 3 support teachers who I had around me pretty much. It was always one of the 3. We used to call them the 3 Degrees, which is a singing group back in the 70s, I think. And that really helped. So they were there for like in my classrooms and that. And I wouldn't exactly go out during normal playtimes. There'd be a different room I'd go into with a few friends. But I could still, like outside of that, most of my support needs were being met. And part of that was because there was a much greater improvement in terms of communication between my aunt and uncle and the school itself. And that even started happening with teacher training as well. Because then, of course, some schools will realise that actually it's not just the way they view it, it's actually improving the attitudes for the teachers. So if the teachers have a better understanding of what's going on, then it's going to be more beneficial to students as well. So one example would be, actually, I've done a little bit of teacher training before, but one of the things I was told by Autism Awareness in conjunction with the school is that if I was to ever be really stressed out, we used to operate on what's called a 1 to 5 scale. So 1's when you're like nice, calm, cool, collected. I hope all of you listeners are a 1 right now. And of course, you build up in stress till you get to your 5, which is, in my case, your meltdown point. In others, their shutdown point. And the idea is, what can we do to communicate, for me to communicate to the teachers that I am getting to that point and I need to get myself out of that room. Originally, they wanted me to either show cards or put my hand up, show a number of things on my hand at what level I'm at to then get out. However, I actually struggled with that because I realised that if you're getting to the point of meltdown because you're being bullied in class, you're then showing the bullies a reaction, the exact same thing they're trying to get out of you. So I decided to modify the system that I'd put my hand up to get them to come over, and I'd ask for, if I could go to the toilet. But then what I'd do is I'd put my fingers on the table.
Without showing the rest of the class.
Exactly, because no one else would see it. So I've got my hand up saying I actually need to go to the bathroom. My other hand's sending them the communication.
With the teacher.
Yeah, so then I can go out and go.
Oh, that's a
I'm
clever
on the
way.
verge, and then no one else in the classroom needs to know about it.
That's a very clever way, yes. Because the bullies who might trigger you will get their satisfaction when they kick you out of the
or if they see that you communicate to everyone that you need to leave.
Yes.
So by making it more subtle, you're not giving them that satisfaction.
Thank you for my other question is we are in a difficult financial situation, and many schools, local authorities have resources, but most of it, there is a document that's called ECHP plan. As a mother, what advice can you give when first-time parents are trying to get that documentation from the local authorities?
Sometimes it can be very, very, very difficult, especially lately. People, they request education healthcare plan, and they keep rejected and saying maybe your child doesn't need that much help. Keep knocking the doors, because the doors sometimes they don't open the first knock, or they don't open easily. Education healthcare plan, if your child needs, it helps a lot your child. It literally states your child's needs, how he can get the support that he needs, and it sets up targets, whether it's life skills, whether it's communication. That's how you can know how much of a support your child is getting. Example, if I take example as a speech and language, when your child has education healthcare plan, it should state how many hours do they have with the speech and language. And sometimes it says your child has 2 hours of speech and language. Sometimes as a parent, you need to learn how to learn those kind of documents, because it's the way it's written the language is easy, but the meaning is not so easy. Sometimes it says your child has got 2 hours with speech and language therapy. That can be different meaning to different professionals and different setting. If it says, and to the parent as well. So when you read and it says like your child has got 2 hours with speech and language, you might think your child is getting 2 hours every week or one every 2 weeks. Sometimes it can be different. That 2 hours, it might mean every 6 weeks or every 2 months. And if it doesn't say direct speech and language, that means your child might not see directly speech and language, but they access, or the speech and language might train teachers or teacher assistant to work with your child. So in order to understand what it says, education care plan, if you need the help to go and get the help. There are so many organizations who help with the speech, with the education health care plan. And when your child has got education and healthcare plan, the school itself can ask and request extra support for your child. So education and healthcare plan is crucial if your child needs it. I know sometimes it can be difficult to get one. And who can apply? A parent can do the referral. Senko can do a referral. Teachers can do a referral. So anybody who works with your child can do the referral, and usually it takes 16 weeks to 20 weeks. It might take longer, but that is the legal time that it's supposed to take. It helps a lot of your child. You can see the progress of your child. After you build the education healthcare plan, after that it's only review once a year. So the building of the education healthcare plan has to be strong. Your child's, how I used to do Ismail's education healthcare plan is, when it came out, education healthcare plan, Ismail, he was already in the school system. So when we were trying to build Ismail's education healthcare plan, I imagined the worst day of Ismail's life, when he's struggling everything. Because if you don't imagine that day and you say, my child can do this and that and the other, you are not building a strong education healthcare plan. You need to imagine, and you need to remember the very difficult day. What are the difficulties your child is having? Whether it's communication, social interaction, whether it's behavior, whether it's life skills, and then build that education healthcare plan for your child. And it will help you and your child, and you can track how it's going and what kind of progress they're making and the outcome as well.
Thank you so much. I know that you wrote a book about your experience. Can you elaborate more about your book? Because now it is on the screen and it's showing everyone. And for listeners' point of view, it will be available on Saturday 16 at radio here, and everyone who wants want a copy of it can drop in here. It will be available here. Talk to us more about your book, and I will come to you, Dylan, about that as well.
The book that I wrote is very, very small, and the reason that it's small is on purpose, because mothers like me, we don't have much time to sit. It's a luxury to sit down and read a book from page to page. So the reason I make my book very, very small, and it's not bio, it's more like kind of guidebook, what we went through, me and Ismail and my family. And the reason I wrote the book is, when Ismail was young and he's been diagnosed with autism, I needed a lifeline. That's the name of my book, a lifeline. Somebody to guide me, or to tell me, or give me information, or tell me, okay, or even to see someone with autism. I'm so grateful when I'm having a conversation with Dylan and different people who can, like, I can see it's different for him how autism, and my son's autism he lives with it is totally different. And I appreciate, and I'm learning from all that situation. So when my son was young, I needed lifeline, which is somebody who can tell me, okay, I've done this and that, it worked for me. I put that much of support for my child, and it helped and it worked. My son, he was like this, and now, or my daughter was like that, and now she's thriving and she's learned so much. It's not easy journey, but your child can learn. Give me that hope, that lifeline. So the book is guideline just to show the mothers and the parents, not only the mothers and the parents, there is a light and there's a hope, especially when your child is severely autistic and they cannot communicate with you. You don't understand what they're saying, and you're trying to find information right and left, and there's no guidance and no support. And now the support group are getting bigger and better. But imagine 2008, 2007, 2006, there was nothing. So the guidebook is our journey with autism.
Thank you. It's again, let me remind our listeners in the studio, we can call us 0116-482-2086. You can text us 077-48-855-055. And this book will be available on Saturday 16th here at Ramadan Radio, and you can get your copy here. Dylan, I have the exclusive information that you're writing a book yourself.
Yes, I was waiting 2 weeks to formally announce it, but I can talk about it now.
Yes, without delving into it, what it is about, and what induced you to write a book about it.
So weirdly enough, it's been something I've wanted to do for a little bit. I mean, I've already written a few books of personal projects in the past. But it was at Samia's event in Bethnal Green, and I had many parents keep coming up to me and going, "Why haven't you written a book yet? We'd love to read yours." And it made me think, okay, maybe it's time I put my story down into writing. But one of the things I've wanted to do, though, is it not just tell it from my perspective. So in some elements, yes, it's autobiographical because it is my story in my words. And I'm also going to be mentioning some of the coping strategies that I used to help growing up. But I thought it would actually be more helpful to hear from the perspective of other people. So I've asked my aunt and uncle, I've asked a few of my friends growing up, I've asked my old support teacher, my social worker, I've even got in touch with one of my school's head teachers and a couple of my old bosses. I've asked them to all put in their perspectives of whether they're working with me, for professionals, living with me, and to put in to maybe give advice what they could give to people to be in their shoes. I thought if I did it that way, it's actually going to be a book that will fit to such a wider demographic than it be my own personal experience. Because there'll be parents who may be unsure, what advice to take. And I might not be able to give them the right advice, but maybe another parent would. And the same if it's like a boss. Because, of course, one of the things that really irks me is the low employability rate amongst autistic adults. So there was a survey done by the NAS in early 2022, and it was barely 1 in 5 adults with autism were in any form of paid employment. So I thought, well, why don't I actually then get a couple of my employers to put their perspectives in, show some of the positives. So if there is an employee who wants to learn more about it, this is available for them.
We will have plenty of time. Dylan will be a guest in my all shows. He is very generous in giving me that availability. Let me go back to the NHS. As I was saying, autism is a spectrum. This means everybody with autism is different. Some autistic people need little or no support. Others might need help from a parent or carer every day. There are other names for autism used by some people, such as autism spectrum disorder or abbreviation ASD. In the medical name of autism is that they call it autism spectrum disorder. Now they are not using anymore, but there is Asperger's syndrome, and it used to be used to describe autistic people with average or above intelligence. And it's one thing that is very important, and Samia touched upon it, is that nobody knows now, until now, what the available research they have made, what causes the autism, and it affects a different way. Sometimes you can observe in the family, same family, different times, and autistic parents might have 2 or more children. But what is NHS is saying clearly, if you go to their page, it is autism is not caused by bad parenting. So please let us stop stigmatizing the parents, and this shows about also in Islamic way, and we will have imams in our show to talk about that a little more. It's not about bad parents, and it's not caused by vaccination, and it's not linked diet or some pills you have taken or not taken while you were pregnant. It's not an infectious disease. So autism is not all those. Autism, as they described at the end, is a condition. It is not illness, and it is very clear on any credible, and I'm talking about the scientific proven out there, and anyone who I advise as a parent is please educate yourself, and please do not take an advice from someone who has no whatsoever experience or medically trained about what they're talking about, and don't you ever take someone has taken miracle something and then they turn out this. Ask them who they are, where they live, because sometimes this anecdotal evidence is that what puts off parents and gives a false hope. Autistic people might often have conditions in addition on their autism, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They might have dyslexia, they might have anxiety, they might have depression and epilepsy. So on top of autism, people can have it. And sometimes it is important that we remember autism is not caused by bad parenting, as Samia put it very clearly to us. In my last minutes of this wonderful show, even though I was expecting callers, but I can understand it is the first day of Ramadan, and people might have a bit of things to do, but they will listen on social media later on. The program, when it's prepared by our fine producers out there who are showing me the time is coming to end. Dylan, you're closing remarks only today. Remember that we have days coming.
Well, like I say, you touched on it very well, and the fact that autism isn't caused by something like bad parenting. I mean, as I say, I know amongst my family there's quite a few now who have also been shown to be autistic. And the main bit of element of support has been the fact that, well, since my diagnosis, there's been so much more understanding that's been moving forward. I think it's such a fantastic thing. I mean, I started doing my talks when I was 15. So that's why I said it's 10 years ago in 2 weeks' time I'll have been doing all this for. And the thing that I do when I do my talks, it's never actually going up and doing the presentation that I enjoy. It's all the parents that come up and ask me questions afterwards. Because the biggest barrier, of course, is the willingness to understand.
And I get you on Saturday 16th. There will be many parents around here, so I want you to make that day free from 6 to 6.
Okay.
No, 12 to 6. Okay, Samia, your minute starts now. Your closing remarks.
I just want to talk to the parents, especially the mothers. You're doing a great job. You're doing an amazing job. If nobody tell you that, I'm going to tell you that. You're doing an amazing job. Raising a child with autism or a child with additional needs is not easy, especially when you don't have enough resources and you don't have enough information. When you want to make a decision, go and do your own research. Listen to the advice of other people, but what worked for them, it might not work for you. Do your own research. Make sure you're getting your research from... Do your own research and make sure your research, where you're getting from your information, is somewhere like NHS website or something that reliable, and your child will be fine. The future will be amazing.
Thank you very much. And as I said before, Lifeline book will be ready here on Saturday 16th from 12 to 6 p.m. If you drop in here in our studio, you can find your own copy, and we will be making sure. The other points before the show closes is that I'd like to thank from bottom of my heart their availability, and I will be asking more of your time. And I invite all other parents, please come and talk to us. You can even show up the studio. This is your show. All parents with autistic children, this is your show, and it's not, and you will be finding us here. And number to call is 0116-482-2086. And if you want to text us, 07748-855-055. If you missed this Monday, we will be here all the Mondays from 12 to 1 p.m. And we will see you, inshallah. I will leave you with a Ramadan Mubarak. And really, it is one